leaving. And he says, and let me tell you about a talent. A talent also is worth about, one talent is worth about 20 years of labor wages. 20 years, one talent. So at $15,000 a year for 20 years, that's $300,000. So in light of that, when Jesus is telling this parable, he's telling this parable about this master. And the master comes in and he says, I'm going on a trip and I want to entrust you, my servants, with a certain number of talents. So, I was outside painting rocks yesterday gold, so you can see what that looks like. So, I have 5 talents, 5 bags of gold. And he said to the first servant, I'm going to give you 5 bags of gold. What I'd like for you to do is take it and use it as I would, because you know I'm a shrewd person. You know I invest wisely. And when I come back, I'm going to ask you to account for that. And then, to the next one, he comes in and he says, for you, the Bible says that he gave it according to their ability. He said to the next one, he said, I'm going to give you 2 talents. So you've got one that's got 5 talents, and you've got one that's got 2 talents. And then he goes to the third servant, and he says, for you, according to your ability, I'm going to give you 1 bag of gold. And the story goes on, and it talks about that the master was gone for a long, long time. And when he came back, he called the servants in. And he asked one of the servants, he said, the servant with the 5 bags, he says, tell me what you've done with what I left you. And the servant comes in and he says, I have your 5 talents. I have your 5 bags of gold. And I've got another 5 for you. I have done what you would have done. I have been shrewd with the things that you have given to me. I have utilized those well. Because you gave me 5 and you gave 5 back. The servant with 2 came in. And he said, Master, he said, you gave me 2. And I've also made 2. And for both the servant who brought back the 5 and the additional 5, and the one who brought back the 2 and the additional 2, Jesus said that the master looked at them and he said, well done, good and faithful servant. What you have done with a little, now you will be trusted with much. Come and enjoy your time with the master. The third servant came in. And he said, Master, I knew you were a shrewd person. I knew you took things that were not yours. You reaped where you did not sow. He said, I took your bag of gold and I dug a pit and I put it in there because I did not want to lose what you had given to me. Because I wanted to be able to hand it back to you the same way that you gave it to me. And Jesus looked at him and he said, you wicked, wicked servant. You knew that I was a shrewd person. You knew that I would never have done that myself. Why would you think just because I gave you 1 bag, I gave it to you according to your abilities? Why would you think that I only gave you 1 bag? Why would you think you just put it in the ground and bury it and bring it back to me? You could have at least put it in the bank. And then I think it's unusual. I think it goes where we are going. But Jesus said that the master called the people in. He said, I want you to throw this guy out. And he said to the other one, he said, take his bag that he's got and give it to the one who's got 10. And I'm thinking as I'm reading the story, why wouldn't he just give it to the one who's got 4? I mean, that would be more even. That would be better. Why would you give something to some guy who's already got 10 bags of gold Why wouldn't you give it to this one to make it fair? Or closer to fair? At least then he's got half of it. And I think that's what God is trying to teach us. I think that is the whole point of what we need to talk about today. Because you know who these five-bag people are? I think Jesus is saying, life is not fair. I'm not trying to make it fair. Right? I'm not trying to give you all equal opportunities. I'm not trying to make everything equal for you. This is not about being fair. This is about what have you been given and what are you doing with it. So five-bag people. We all know who these five-bag people are. We see them on television. These are the guys that are extremely talented, extremely wealthy. They're good looking. They have married well, or they married into money. They hit the lottery, and then they did something with what they were given. The five-bag people have so much resources to be able to do whatever they want to do. And I think about that, and I think I'm not a five-bag person. The one-bag person, on the other hand, the one-bag person is that person who has had a hard life. Broken home, bad home, beaten as a child, divorced parents, maybe in an orphanage, maybe in drugs, maybe been married once, twice, 3 times. And if you look at the one-bag person, and the one-bag person looks at the five-bag person, he just thinks, I don't have much to offer. I don't have, when it compares to that, I can't do anything with what I've got. And then there's the rest of us. The two-bag people. And yet, the two-bag people, which I think is the majority of us, the two-bag people are the people who have looked at their lives and says, I don't have it as bad as this person, but I definitely don't have it as good as this person. And William Elkins and I were talking last night, as we usually do on Friday nights before I'm speaking, and he said, you know what? He said, I look at you as a five-bag person. He says, you're an attorney, you've got everything going for you. And I said, you know what? I don't look at myself as a five-bag person because I'm looking at somebody else thinking, I can never be like Bill Gates. I can never be like people who have extreme talents and extreme abilities. This is hard. Every time I get up here and talk, this is hard. I didn't sleep hardly last night because just struggling with what we were going to talk about this morning. And I realized we all are looking at somebody else and saying, they've got so much more than what I have to offer. And it can't ever be that way. But what God is saying, what God really wants, is He wants us to look at ourselves and He says, what have you been given? Life's not going to be fair. It's not going to be fair at all. What are you going to do with what I gave you? What are you going to do with that? So think about it. If you're 25, unmarried, got a decent job, maybe you're still in school, what are you going to do with that? If you're 35, married, young